All right, rolling. How's it going?
Great. How are you?
Good, good. I just went to Baltimore for a few days, which is pretty nice.
Nice.
Yeah, just hanging out down there, getting out of Philly for a little bit, which is always
Make it
nice.
down to the aquarium.
No, I haven't been there in ages.
Yeah, that was a childhood road day trip. My parents took a
Oh
lot.
yeah, DMV trip, I'm sure. That makes a lot of
Yeah,
sense.
that was a great shit.
Yeah, the
Um,
Baltimore Aquarium's really cool. We went there once on a high school orchestra trip.
it rules, dude.
It's really cool.
It's one of the best.
Yeah.
And I have so speaking of sort of this is very clumsy, but speaking of kind of like
All right, cool.
hologram, like there's the sort of blurred line between sort of hologram people and like virtual reality and real life.
Uh huh.
I remember there was an exhibit there where they had these sort of like this box that had this sort of like 3D projection of different creatures
Cool.
in it, and invited you to reach your hand in and feel like this sort of projected light in there or whatever.
Nice. Very cool.
And I reached my hand and I got a shock. I got like
Whoa,
a
really?
sting in there. Yeah,
Whoa.
that was a sort of like very frightening
Jarring.
experience for me that I remember. I was probably like 6 or something.
That's bizarre. Was it supposed to happen?
I don't think so. I think I mean I probably imagined it.
Mm.
It probably did not really happen.
Mm.
Um, I think as a kid I was prone to a lot of those sorts of like imagined sensory experiences.
Yeah,
You
that
know?
sounds really cool though. 3D projected fish at the
Yeah.
aquarium. Yeah, I mean, there's no chance of finding that now. I was. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Does is the Baltimore Aquarium the one that has like the ramp that you walk down through like the giant tank?
Yes, sir. Yeah, the
Right?
stingray
It's like
tank,
the
I believe.
spiral tank. Yeah, it's so cool. Fuck.
Yeah, yeah,
I gotta
yeah.
go there. I wonder if it's even open.
I'm
Honestly, probably
sure it
not.
is. It's gotta be.
Yeah.
Wait, I guess you'd know better. How opened up is Baltimore right now?
Um, I mean, people are more cautious actually than they are in Philly. Like, everyone wears masks on the street. I mean, that might have been because I was in more of like a collegey neighborhood,
Mm-hmm.
a little more like well-to-do. But yeah, like everyone was wearing masks just on the street, out in public, which in Philly like you do not see.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
sounds
it's
like
pretty much
Philly's
just
just
stores
like
only.
yeah, going all out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's and in some places just people don't wear them at all. Like the
Yeah,
memorial service I went to last weekend, there was I mean people were wearing masks at the service, but like that whole area around there is like not a lot of masks.
sure, sure,
So
sure.
if you like go to any businesses around there, go to the beer store or anything, not seeing a lot of masks.
Yeah.
But,
Okay.
what are you gonna do?
Well,
What should be expected, honestly, at this point.
yeah. No, I'm surprised anyone wears a mask anymore. Surprised I
Weirdly,
wear a mask every time I put one on. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Weirdly, the pizza place around the corner from my house, where they've been like no mask for a really long time,
Mm.
like not a single person in there wearing a mask. They just started like this month. They all started wearing masks. So I don't know what
Never
the fuck
too
that's
late.
about. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, you would love this place. It's called Key Pizza, and
That sounds great.
fuck, I have so many photos of the sign. I just don't know where. I could pull one up right now, but the sign of the pizza place is like a big photo of pizza with like a key on a key ring, like going
Hell
through the
yeah.
pizza.
I love that.
Yeah, it's like a pizza keychain.
Yeah, it's some real dumb shit. I love
It's
that.
really dumb. It's really cool. Yeah,
Um,
I'm a fan.
yeah, before we
It's pretty
dive into
sweet.
stuff today, I have
Yeah, yeah,
one quick Bloomington memory for you. Do you
yes,
remember
please.
Greek's Pizzeria?
Yeah, of course. Oh, I loved Greeks. They had this super sweet sauce. Yeah,
Yeah, that's all I
and
really
like
had to say.
really soft crust.
I was going through Dave's Bloomington concert footage. I
Ooh,
found a
nice.
concert at Greek's that Adam and I went to.
No shit.
Yeah, it was Eric Ayot's buddy, Super Bobby. Did you
Oh,
ever
I
know this
remember Super
guy?
Bobby. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes. It was a Super Bobby show at Greek's in 2009.
Holy shit.
Very, very weird shit to be watching.
Oh my
Yeah.
god. That's cool. Yeah, you should send me a link to that. Or, I mean, I'm sure I could find it. That sounds great.
Yeah.
I don't know if I ever went to a show at Greeks, but that was such a weird
That was my
place.
only time. Yeah.
Just like cavernous. There's always like maybe one person working. Like sometimes you'd walk in there and there would just be no one.
Yeah, it was a
Just be
weird
empty
space.
in the middle of the day. It was so bizarre.
I'm surprised they had enough capital to not close after they got kicked out of their first space.
Yeah.
Remember
Well, where
that
was
they
the
used to be
first
in
one? Was the
Kirkwood?
first one? It was over by
like
where
across-
Ladyman's used to be, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. By the theater.
And somehow they managed to make a move somewhere else. But yeah, no, that was the only show I ever saw there. And that was when Plan 9 was next to
Yes.
Greeks.
That was cool.
I remember weathering the storm there while I think Ghost Mice was playing that night or something.
Nice.
I
So
remember
you
weathering
popped
the
into Plan
storm of
9.
like yeah,
Yeah.
some crummy folk punk.
Yeah, exactly. The folk punk hurricane. You had to get out of the way
Stay
of that.
for the nerdcore.
Hell yeah. Nice. Wasn't was Super Bobby was the one with the Hulk hands, right?
The what?
The Hulk hand? Like the big Hulk hand with the
Oh,
microphone
yeah,
in it,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay. I do remember this.
Yeah, honestly,
Yeah, I'm
it's
sure I
still
saw
fun.
him.
It's not nerdcore. That's a mean thing of me to say.
It's okay.
It's
Does
definitely
that stuff
definitely
even
dork
exist
rap.
anymore though?
Nerdcore? I'm sure it does.
I mean,
sure
true,
it's going.
true.
There's no way that nerdcore is not more popular than it's ever been right now.
True.
I'm sure we'd be surprised to find
Yeah,
out how popular
yeah.
nerdcore is.
It also seems like one of those genres where it's like the people who like it, like their taste never changes. You know,
No, I
so
mean,
they're just
until
like, "Yep, I've been listening to MC Chris since like 1998. The shit rules."
I mean, until they literally run out of money from buying Funko Pops. I think.
Yeah, exactly.
The nerdcore like revenue stream is there. I think. I think you make it work for yourself.
I mean, I bet any of those people could stream too, and just be a-okay.
Oh, totally. I'm sure MC Ride a Lot is.
MC Ride a Lot, yeah. Damn. Oh my god. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember listening to that stuff in the Scion.
Someone's gotta.
Yeah. Well, what do we got today? I brought up something weird related stuff since we were
Yeah,
talking
why
about
not?
that. I also have this still from MST3K, which I didn't even realize this was. I don't even think I ever watched all the way to the end of the credits most of the time, but
Yeah, no
this is
fucking
like
way.
this is the end credits image on a lot of MST3K.
Yeah, well, maybe this would be worth like going into because this is. I also have never, I guess, seen an MST3K episode like to the last second
Yeah.
because I don't remember this. But this is sort of like you found. I don't even know if I can know. You found like an AV article that sort of talks about the tape trading aspect of MST3K.
Yeah, barely.
Yeah, barely.
Touches on it a little bit.
But like, I think it's also the product of us like coming to MST3K like in the era when Shout was re-releasing.
Yeah,
like
totally.
a bunch of stuff. Like, I don't know if MST3K ever had like an official VHS release of any kind.
Yeah, I mean, I think this was the situation was like they were already the episodes were getting pulled from broadcast so much because of copyrights that it was like. I think a lot of the interest in it was sustained by tape trading in the early days, like before Shout and also before the internet. Because I remember, like MST3K was like an early thing you could find if you were looking for like weird video stuff or like, torrenting videos. Like that was
Totally.
definitely. Or like streaming clips on if it was websites that weren't just like random like funny video clips. Like you could sometimes find some MST3K stuff buried around because people just like clung to that stuff, like
Yeah, no, I
cherished
actually I just remembered this very moment. My uncles and my grandma had a very like
Whoa.
kind of like sick like VHS like collection.
Really?
But there's a lot of MST3K in there that I remember.
Really?
But no, this
Holy
is a
shit.
completely random memory. I actually should probably try to get a hold of this shit.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Because I bet it's still in that house.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
like still kicking around there.
Yeah, no doubt.
Um, but no, when I was before I moved to Bloomington, when I was like 6 or 7 or something, I
Uh-huh.
remember going over and hanging out with my grandma while like my mom was out visiting friends or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and my grandma putting on Faulty Towers when I was like
Whoa.
6 years old and like not understanding it, but
Yeah,
like
yeah, of course.
yeah, only understanding like the very like broadest strokes of why it was funny.
Yeah. Damn.
Um,
Yeah, I mean that's the only way I guess you could access that shit too.
but it's
Back
wild.
then.
I mean, she had all of that shit on VHS. Like
Damn.
I think they had a really sort of like an encyclopedic kind of like VHS collection that now I need to revisit.
Yeah,
I'll
that
have to
sounds
text my
great. You
mother
should dig
about.
through that. There might be some real gems in there, you know?
Yeah, I'll have to get my mother to intercede on my behalf. Make sure I
Mm. Yeah, the family
get my
jewels, the
get my
treasures.
mitts on those. But yeah, no, I mean that was before I'd even seen MST3K because I remember
Mhm.
seeing like that combination of letters on like handwritten on a VHS spine and like asking what it was.
Mm.
Um, when again I was like 10 or under probably.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
Yeah, again, also such a wild like cultural artifact at this point too. Like the amount of work that went into those shows with like the pre movie scenes and like all the scripted
right.
sequences and the puppets and everything. And it was for like, you know, local it was for local like Minnesota cable, right? Like it was
Yeah,
yeah, it was not even like a
for a
national
time.
show.
Yeah.
And it's just like unreal.
Wasn't that that's the transition point though, right? They like get picked up by I don't remember what network put them on, but they got picked up by some network, right?
Yeah, yeah. I think that's when, yeah. And that's, I'm sure, like a turn in quality that hardcore fans identify. Like that point is when shit started
Yeah,
to go
no,
south. Or when they switch the
yeah,
host too. Like, I don't know. It's been so long since I've
totally.
watched that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I rewatched a little bit when like Corona lockdown sort of first happened. That was sort
Mm,
of a
nice,
perfect thing to
nice.
be just like you know working from home, like have something on in the background, like
Yeah, absolutely.
and the episodes of that I enjoy, like I have seen, you know, probably dozens of
Yeah, of
times.
course.
So like it's really just background noise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't remember
Um,
the last time I watched one I hadn't seen. Like, it's always kind of going back and revisiting the same
yeah,
ones. Yeah, speaking of which, this
totally.
old Something Weird catalog has Monos on the list.
Nice.
Yeah, which is really cool. So,
Well,
I mean,
yeah,
that was
something
like
weird is so
out in the
fucking cool. I mean,
ether.
they used to just buy up everything, I think. I mean, I remember Lisa Petrucci told me about like just sort of calling up like warehouses in LA and like
Hmm.
finding just like these troves of
Yeah,
like hundreds of reels that had never been like touched for, you know, like 20, 30 years.
yeah. It's so cool. I
Um,
mean, just how also just like how physical this process was of being just like a weird like cult film or like underground film freak. Like it was, yeah. I don't know. There's not. We're definitely. I think we're definitely coming at this from a kind of nostalgic angle for, you know, something that we,
yeah.
and like a nostalgia definitely for something that we didn't even experience at all, and probably at the time
Hmm.
was kind of crummy. Like it was just probably no different than, I mean, yeah, it was like, you know, it was like working for like a cleaning company or something. You're just like digging through old warehouses. Like, yeah, I'm sure it like smelled like shit. I'm sure they were dusty. I'm sure they hadn't been touched in decades.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, at a certain level, there is kind of like a pathetic kind of like colonialist, like exploration, like aspect to this is like, I think the question I'm always trying to like figure out for myself is how do I sort of achieve like this same level of like, how do I get to this like place of like media discovery that something like weird reached, you know?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, totally.
just like where they moved into uncharted territory, these films that had, you know, existed but had never been really acknowledged or recorded or had existed in the public memory at all
Yeah,
before something weird sort of like canonize them by becoming this like entity unto itself.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, Beast of Yucca Flats.
That's
That's on
another
there
MST.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's classic. That's what's the guy? What's the guy's name? Tor, the Plan 9 from Outer Space guy. That's what that movie is, right?
I don't
Beast of
remember.
Yucca Flats. That's like that wrestler sort of wandering around the desert. I remember. I think I own that one. It's really boring. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a dreadfully boring movie. If it's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, well, that's the thing too. These some of this stuff is just like, I mean, some, like, a lot of it is just like, you can tell that a lot of the interest in some of this stuff was purely just because it was hard to find. You know, something like Beast of Yucca
Absolutely.
Flats. It's like, and I guess also it was a time too when kind of like the quality of what you would see on screen was so much more strictly controlled. Like, there was
Yes,
so much
totally.
less media in general. The stuff you would see on TV, and the stuff you would see in the movie theaters. I mean, it was all like kind of descending levels of quality from like movie theater to TV to, I guess, your like personal collection of film reels or whatever of like 16
Yeah,
millimeter.
totally.
But you know, there was something could have a lot of longevity just based on being like a weird curiosity that was like, oh wow, like I can't even believe, like, Monos too. I mean, Monos is not the best example because it is actually a ton of fun to watch, but so much of it is just like the spectacle of it's just unbelievable that it even got made, because it's like, wait, I thought movies were like hard to make. I thought they were expensive to make. Like, I thought they took like planning and preparation and foresight, and Monos is seemingly just like so kind of thrown together and haphazard. And
Right.
you know, I think even in
Yeah.
MST 3K they go into some of the details of why that is. But yeah,
Yeah, I don't
things.
remember that episode.
Yeah. But
Really.
I mean, yeah, we're clearly nostalgic for it too, because it's like, is that type of discovery. I mean, obviously there's stuff that hasn't been found, right? There's tons of stuff that's just still like, there's so much media out there floating around in the nether zone. But
No,
could
totally. I
it
mean,
attract attention anymore? Is
yeah.
the
I mean,
thing.
I was just gonna share a little, um, not an anecdote really. I guess just sort of a piece of information I have knowledge about.
Mhm.
Do you happen to remember? Of course you do. You remember Dave Church, right?
Vaguely. Yeah.
Who you
What's
met
it?
recently. You met Dave Church recently when you visited Bloomington. You told me.
Oh, yes. Sorry. No, it was only
Yeah,
the
the
one time.
postdoc.
Yeah. Of course.
Um,
Yes.
because I think also taught at like some different universities in adjunct positions.
And
But
we went to that screening of Viva, right? Years and years
yeah,
ago
for a class
for
I
his
was in that he
class.
taught,
Yeah.
because he was a doctoral student at IU when I was an undergrad.
Totally.
I took a class from him, but he's a really interesting guy. I've read
yeah.
his like porn studies book, which is like fantastic.
Yeah, he's got some pretty amazing knowledge.
But one of his big things during his time at IU was like he got sort of first dibs to this warehouse at IU, or some like sort of storage
Ooh,
facility at IU that
very
had
cool.
all these like reams of film and
Mhm.
like all these like just like shit that somehow had been acquired and was unaccounted for.
Yeah.
And his like prize jewel was this movie called The Orgy at Lil's Place,
Whoa.
which he sort of like, you can look this up, but this was like his like one of his like big accomplishments at that time was that he had, and he writes about this in his book, that he had sort of like, and this has like this film, The Orgy at Lil's Place, maybe you can pull up some stuff about it, but like in porn studies in particular, it holds this sort of interesting like place in the transition from like sort of like sexploitation romp to what we call like the roughies, which are these sort of like sadomasochistic kind of like pornography films that become very popular in the 60s and 70s. And so this one is not hardcore. This is like pre-hardcore. I believe this is from the 60s. So this is like a key transition film that gets yeah, has been like referenced quite a bit, but hadn't been seen very much until
Ooh,
Dave like found a print of it.
very cool.
But like, and he talks about this, and I went to his like midnight screening of it, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah, yeah.
And he got like Eric Schaefer there as a guest, who wrote Bold, Daring, Shocking, True, which is like a really phenomenal study of like, I think like I think up to like the 50s, just like sort of exploitation as a genre, like a historical perspective. It's like absolutely incredible. But so yeah, so it's this sort of big ordeal. But like the thing is, like, it's a dreadfully boring movie. It's not like titillating at all. It's like stupid. It's boring. Like, and there is the way that like I think Dave's point in his book that is interesting with a lot of this stuff, and like we have been sort of saying or talking about with like some of the things in Something Weird's catalog, is like the idea of these films is often much more tittillating than like the reality of these. Like,
oh yeah.
There's no reason you should ever watch this film unless you're like unless you're like Dave Church and you're a scholar of these things. Like,
yeah, totally.
I went as a fan or like an observer, and was gravely disappointed. It's like super fucking boring.
Yeah, and again, it's also kind of the like the spectacle of like the midnight porn screening. Like that's makes it kind of more of an experience. Like these aren't these they had their historical place when this stuff was hard to find, and like moving picture pornography was something that was like really illicit and underground, right?
Yeah.
But it's like so quickly made obsolete as that stuff becomes more accessible, which is kind of the same with like a lot of the stuff that Something Weird trafficked in, and I think makes it would make it increasingly difficult to do stuff like that now and make it like compelling, you can make a YouTube channel with like weird videos that you find around the internet and it might get some play, but I think you would have a much harder time making a case like Something Weird did, that these like putting them all in one place and presenting them as something of like real cultural value. Like that's I think a harder sell now that we are so like completely inundated with this stuff.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, like, we're increasingly running out of places to look for this stuff. Like, I think
yeah, exactly, things are being picked
this
clean
position for a while.
Totally. Yeah, that's a great example.
And I think like anime still kind of holds this like social position that is interesting. Like, I think it's still one of the places like at a convention or something where you can sort of experience like pornography being circulated like openly, and like
interesting, because I haven't been to an anime convention, so
tell
me about that a little bit, because I'm sure bootleg trading is still a thing because so much stuff hasn't been translated. Sure. Yeah.
No, right? I mean, I'm sure it is. I'm not like savvy enough to really know. Like, I got the opportunity to go to a couple of like anime cons as like a presenter.
Yeah. It's cool.
Which was very fun, but like, yeah, I mean, like, and this again, like, honestly, I should have like pulled up some Dave Church stuff for us to read, but like one of the things he talks about in early pornography, like sort of really early pornography, is like the stag film, and like the idea that like you knew a person who had these films and you would like get a bunch of guys together and watch them. And sort of like the idea of being like titillated in a public space is something that we are like increasingly losing. And it's sort of a complicated issue. I don't know quite how I really like feel about it. I think that's like a loss of some kind. I think like porn theaters are gross.
Yeah.
Like,
well, all getting titillated by the same thing too, because like people watch porn on the subway like all the time, or like in the public library. But as like a shared group experience.
As a social experience, like that sort of thing is really dying out. And so my experience at like the anime cons is like people like crowded around like the sort of like booth selling like X-rated doujinshi,
Yeah,
like
the rare
porn
stuff.
comics,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and yeah, I mean, especially when I presented at AX, like at Anime Expo, like the big con.
Mm.
Um, like the experience of that is really like a hierarchy sort of like forming around this stuff, where like the guys who are selling it are kinds of like the kings, but then they're like, there was like a dude next to me who had like a stack, and these are like very expensive like objects. Like I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
once they get like if you go to Japan, from what I understand, they're very cheap. But once you get them exported, they're
yeah.
like $10 to $20 at least for like
Damn.
just whatever. Like they're expensive objects, and so a stack like this high of sort of like wafer thin like pornography comics is, like
Holy shit.
hundreds or thousands of dollars.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, and sort of my experience at AX was like leafing through these things and just sort of like looking, and this guy standing beside me with this huge stack and being like, "Oh, that's a good one. You should get that one." Like sort of like advising me like over my shoulder. Yeah, I guess we're kind of far afield now.
Yeah, no. That's interesting though. I mean, because again, it is. I also have. So to bring it back to Dave Church and something sort of related, there actually is a Philadelphia Psychotronic Film Society that does screenings, and this was a kind of like not a great experience because I went there with some friends just to check it out, and it ended up being like an extremely hardcore like rape enema movie.
Oh, brutal.
Called Water Power. Yeah, but David had of course heard about it, and we talked about it a little bit, which was
nice.
And it is great to talk to someone who does have that depth of knowledge.
Yeah, no, it rules.
Just be like, but I mean that movie was wild, but it was also an interesting experience because it was expressly for this purpose of being like it's not really an organic experience in the sense of people going to a porn theater or like a stag film night with your buddies. It's like a further degree of removal where you're like, oh, we're like aesthetes, we're like appreciators of this stuff in an almost kind of ironic way too, right? Because then it's like, and it's the same thing with watching Orgy at Lil's Place too, where it's kind of like you can sit through something that isn't tremendously enjoyable if you're doing it with a group of other people and you're kind of sharing in this experience of being savvy and being in the know, and it's like, ooh, we're experiencing some like niche culture. Yeah, so
exactly,
we did have this experience, and we ended up walking out too because it was just like, I mean, it was it's not the type of thing you really want to just like walk into.
Totally.
And the crowd there was
gnarly.
really relishing how gnarly it was, and my friends were like not into that at all. But yeah, I mean that was a pretty extreme example, but it was definitely the first thing that came to mind as we talked about that. That movie is
this kind
unreal
of like
too. I mean, if you it's interesting just as a digression, but it's basically it's called Water Power.
Okay.
And it's basically like it's Taxi Driver. It's like a disgruntled young guy living by himself in New York City in the 70s, like stalking a young woman, but he becomes obsessed with like giving women enemas instead of like instead of like cleaning the streets of filth or whatever. yeah. So I guess cleaning something of filth, but but it gets really hardcore and is just like, I mean, again, it's the 70s, like it's very it's like a little too grungy.
No, totally. I mean, like it's kind of weird. Yeah, I mean.
Uh-oh. Shit. This hasn't happened before. Well, lost Evan. Should I put on? Oh boy. Okay. Wayback Machine, Little Superstar. Getting Evan back on. Slight interruption. Here we go.
Very good.
I am the founder and chief
Oh god. Disaster. Oh well.
What's this? Liberty Mutual?
Fucking ads. Jesus Christ. Well, I guess I put on Little Superstar because we were going to talk about how that was like a early viral video that made the jump from VHS trading culture to the internet through websites like I found apparently according to Wikipedia it says it first showed up on dorks.com, which I don't know, there's no citation on that. But I did find cached versions of this probably sometime around 2006 2007 is when it showed up, although I can't find any record of the video itself. Sorting by highest ranked doesn't really help, but yeah, I mean, this is what there was before YouTube pretty much, and this is where so many of these like VHS traded early viral pre YouTube viral videos and like pre-internet viral videos showed up. God damn it. Why? Fucking hell. This is so annoying. Where is Evan? Why didn't it say he's trying to join? Jesus Christ.